From the headquarters of the American Radio Relay League in Newington, Connecticut, this is ARRL Audio News for Friday, July 28, 2017. This program is produced by the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, and features news highlights compiled from the ARRL letter, found on the web at arrl.org. I'm Sean Kutzko, KX9X.
And I'm Carla Pereira, KC1HSX.
In this week's report, ARRL's president asks members to reach out to their senators to support S1534.
ARRL publishes its 2016 annual report.
And an Oklahoma radio amateur is the first to score satellite VUCC from Greenland.
Those stories and others, plus Bruce Page, KK5DO with this week's satellite update, all coming up now.
Hi, I'm ARRL member Stuart Thomas, KB1HQS from Washington, D.C., and you're listening to ARRL Audio News.
ARRL President Rick Roderick, K5UR, is calling on League members to urge their U.S. senators to support the Amateur Radio Parity Act of 2017, S1534. ARRL has opened a Rally Congress page to simplify the task. We are at a crossroad in our efforts to obtain passage of the Amateur Radio Parity Act, Roderick said. He said the campaign to secure passage of the bill scored a major victory earlier this year when H.R. 555 passed unanimously in the U.S. House of Representatives. Obtaining passage of the companion Senate bill, S1534, is the final legislative hurdle. Now is the time for all hams to get involved in the process, Roderick said. Many of you already live in deed-restricted communities, and that number grows daily. He urged radio amateurs now restricted by a homeowners association from installing effective outdoor antennas to visit the Rally Congress site and email their 2 U.S. senators. He also encouraged those not currently affected by deed covenants, conditions, and restrictions, better known as CC&Rs, to support their fellow amateur radio operators by doing the same. If you want to help create an opportunity, not available before now, for amateurs who live in deed-restricted communities to install effective outdoor antennas on property that you own or lease, send these emails today, Roderick said. We need you to reach out to your senators today. S1534 was introduced in the U.S. Senate on July 12th, marking another step forward for this landmark legislation. Senators Roger Wicker of Mississippi and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut are the Senate sponsors. The measure will, for the first time, guarantee all radio amateurs living in deed-restricted communities governed by a homeowners association or subject to any private land use regulations the right to erect and maintain effective outdoor antennas at their homes while protecting the aesthetic concerns of HOAs.
Following the meeting last weekend of the ARRL Board of Directors, ARRL has released its 2016 annual report. This year's report departs from past reports in that it focuses on the people who make up ARRL and the larger amateur radio community. Reflecting on his experiences this past year, ARRL President Rick Roderick, K5UR, in his annual report message, reminds members that they make the difference. The initiatives you will read about in this report show hams bringing people into amateur radio in new ways, and from points of entry that maybe you hadn't thought of: college clubs, citizen science, and makers fairs. Hams just like you are making these things happen. There is extensive coverage of major events like National Parks on the Air, or NPOTA, and a discussion of why NPOTA worked so well. 4 pages are devoted to amateur radio's contribution to emergency preparedness in communities around the country. The 2016 annual report was created by ARRL editorial staff under the direction of QST Managing Editor Becky Schoenfeld, W1BXY. QST assistant editors Jen Clifford and Caroline Kenny researched and wrote most of the text, with some stories contributed by ARRL Digital Media Support Specialist Allie McClellan. Members are encouraged to download and read the annual report on the ARRL website.
Just ahead of the 2017-2018 contest season, ARRL has announced rule changes and clarifications to league-sponsored contests. These include an improved process for submitting logs and reporting scores. Most of the changes take effect with the 2017 September VHF contest. These changes reflect current best practices in the contest community and help us improve the quality of the competition and the reporting of the results, ARRL Contest Branch Manager Bart Yankee, W9 69JJ said. For example, getting the log data into log checking more quickly will allow us to post preliminary results online for nearly all contests. Among the many changes, the log submission deadline for ARRL HF contests will be 5 days from the end of the contest. This includes the IARU HF Championship. For ARRL VHF contests, the log submission deadline will be 10 days from the end of the contest. An extension may be requested explaining the necessity to the ARRL contest branch manager at any time before the submission deadline. These deadline changes do not apply to the 222 MHz and up contest, the EME contest, and the 10 GHz and up contest. Also, HF contest entries competing for awards as category leaders are encouraged to specify frequency with 1 kHz resolution in submitted logs. A complete list of changes to ARRL contests can be found on the ARRL website.
Online, via podcast, and on repeaters around the world, you're listening to ARRL Audio News.
Now, with this week's satellite update, here's Bruce Page, KK5DO.
The FMN1 3U CubeSat will be launched on August 16th from China. It carries an FM transponder. The downlink is 435.350 MHz and the uplink is 145.945 MHz. The main mission of the satellite is a new component experiment as well as deployable solar panels. The frequencies have been coordinated by the IARU. We look forward to launch and commissioning. Continuing from last week's basics for operating satellite, you need to know which satellite is operational and which ones to ignore as out of service. This is easy. Visit amsat.org, select Satellite Info, and click on Current Status. As satellites are heard and operated through, hams will update the information on this page. You can very easily see if your favorite satellite is active, only telemetry, no signal, and even if the ISS crew has been on the air. This is Bruce Page, KK5DO, for the ARRL Audio News.
The aging amateur radio on the International Space Station, or ARRS Packet System, on 145.825 MHz appears to have stopped functioning altogether after experiencing some recent problems, and restoring it to operation could take months. ARRS International Chair Frank Bauer, KA3HDO, said the packet system, located in the Columbus module, started to act up late last week, sending only a beacon. The ARRS team requested a power recycle by the crew, and with that power recycle, the packet system appears to have stopped functioning completely, Bauer said in a news release. Note that this unit has been on orbit for 17 years. It was launched on the STS-106 Space Shuttle Atlantis mission in September 2000 and was built, tested, and certified for flight about 20 years ago. Bauer said the ARRS team has had extensive discussions on how to resolve the problem, starting with some additional troubleshooting with the existing packet module. He said it would take weeks just to develop the required troubleshooting procedures and have NASA approve them before conducting tests with the ISS crew. This would include an additional power cycle, he said. The turnaround time is much longer than usual because a new crew will soon be arriving on ISS, Bauer explained. The current crew is focused on the new crew arrival, and there will be about a 1 to 2 week transition after the new crew arrives. On the positive side, one aspect of our troubleshooting, a second power cycle, will occur automatically because ARRS is shut down during crew docking and turned on afterwards. Bauer said troubleshooting would extend beyond this reboot, however. Additional plans with alternative solutions are under discussion with the ARRS team.
Power supplies is the topic of the current episode of the ARRL The Doctor Is In podcast. Sponsored by DX Engineering, ARRL The Doctor Is In is an informative discussion of all things technical. Listen on your computer, tablet, or smartphone, wherever and whenever you like. Every 2 weeks, your host, QST Editor-in-Chief Steve Ford, WB8IMY, and the doctor himself, Joel Hallis, W1ZR, will discuss a broad range of technical topics. You can also email questions to doctor@arrl.org, and the doctor may answer them in a future podcast. You can enjoy ARRL The Doctor Is In on Apple iTunes or by using your iPhone or iPad podcast app. You can also listen online at Blueberry or at Stitcher and through the free Stitcher app for iOS, Kindle, or Android devices.
The Royal Mint Experience in Wales will host the Royal Mint Radio Experience July 30th until August 5th at the Royal Mint's new Visitor Centre in Wales. School children and members of the public have been invited to enjoy a fun, informal, and interactive amateur radio workshop. According to an announcement from the Radio Society of Great Britain, visitors will get the chance to use the FunCube 1 CubeSat, launched in 2013 and used by schools and educational groups around the world. We're delighted to be supporting this event, which will give visitors to the Royal Mint a chance to experience the wonder of amateur radio and satellite communication, said RSGB General Manager Steve Thomas, M1ACB. Amateur radio has many links with the science, technology, engineering, and math, or STEM curriculum, and can lead to rewarding careers. Members of RSGB, Barry Amateur Radio Society, and AMSAT UK will operate special event station GB4RME, or GB4 Royal Mint Experience. Ofcom granted that call sign just for this event. RSGB Regional Manager and BARS Chairman Glyn Jones, GW0ANA, said he believes this may be the first time amateur radio has been allowed to operate from a Royal Mint anywhere in the world.
Hi, I'm ARRL member Bruce Blackley, WD4LBR of Montpelier, Virginia, and you're listening to ARRL Audio News.
And finally, it took just 4 days, some of that time without much sleep, for ARRL member Gabes Iseman, NJ7H of Oklahoma City, to become the first radio amateur to earn the VUCC award, working 100 Maidenhead grid squares, by satellite from Greenland. In fact, his is the first VUCC award of any kind from Greenland. A relatively new licensee, Zeifman, 22, has managed to activate more than 300 grid squares via satellite, as well as nearly 20 DXCC entities. Apart from the operating accomplishment, Zeifman told ARRL, he was attempting to inspire newcomers. I thought it could get more people interested in satellites in general. VUCC is very achievable for anyone. And it could also get more people interested in roving, said Zeifman, who began training this week to become an air traffic controller. I was overwhelmed by the support I received. It was really astonishing the number of people that helped. He said one operator activated 8 different grids for him, while others who don't typically rove visited at least one neighboring grid square to give him a new one for his total. Zeifman said he prefers the linear transponder satellites, such as FO29, rather than the FM satellites, such as SO50. He said he may one day get into HF more seriously, but for now, he finds VHF-UHF operating more fascinating. He said the trip to Greenland, Iceland, and the Faroe Islands with his mother and sister was fantastic, although he noted they may have sometimes been annoyed by my getting up at 3 a.m. or several times in the middle of the night to work satellite passes.
That concludes ARRL Audio News for this week. Our thanks to all contributors to this week's report. ARRL Audio News is produced by the American Radio Relay League, the National Association for Amateur Radio. For more information on amateur radio or the ARRL, visit us on the web at arrl.org. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram by searching for ARRL. If you have a question or comment about audio news, email us at audionews@arrl.org. This program is copyright 2017 ARRL, all rights reserved. Until next week, I'm Carla Pereira, KC1HSX.
And I'm Sean Kutzko, KX9X73, and thanks for listening.